Hey everybody, welcome back to Tanner's Books and Beyond, and welcome back to DiverseAthon. Woo! DiverseAthon, day 2, here we go! Like, we've only just started DiverseAthon, and I'm already having some of the most fun I've ever had reading books. Plus, I'm more motivated to read books now, I think just because I have so many to get through. And it really helps that the books I have read so far are really good too. Alright, so here's what I got through for day 1 of DiverseAthon. First, there was Lumberjanes number 1 by Grace Ellis and Noelle Stevenson. This book was actually shorter than I thought it would be. I mean, I knew it was going to be a short book, but I was hoping this volume would have a few more individual issues that had been published than just the first 4. So it ends on kind of just not really at the end of an arc necessarily. It seems to end in the middle of an arc. But that just motivates me more to get these comics. I mean, I was already going to get the other volumes before, but now I really want to get the other volumes. And also a lot of the queer content that is in this series doesn't necessarily show up in the first volume either. It's kind of subtly hinted at, but nothing is made explicit. But again, that's stuff that we know is going to show up in later volumes, so that's not an issue. And it is already a very diverse cast. I mean, look at the multitude of several different ethnicities, several different body types, and you probably can't see the detail close, but if you look, all of the girls have completely different designs. Like, all their faces are different, and all their heights and all their bodies, and even just the way they carry themselves are completely different. So these are truly very unique, very fully formed characters, which is unfortunately something that you rarely see in comic books these days. I was also able to finish If You Could Be Mine by Sarah Farizan, and holy crow, this book. This was an emotional roller coaster, alright. Now, I talked about this book on my TBR. It's about 2 Iranian girls who are in a lesbian relationship, and that's illegal in Iran, and one of the girls, Nazreen, has just become engaged to a man, and she thinks this is fine because now she can live a wealthy lifestyle like she's used to, and she can still have her other girlfriend, Sahar, on the side. But Sahar doesn't like this, and she wants Nazreen for herself, so Sahar's brilliant plan is to go through with a sex change operation, which is completely legal in Iran, and the unfortunate thing is that a lot of homosexual people are basically pressured into getting the operation so that they can have heterosexual relationships instead of just being able to live out their lives and having same-gender relationships. So Sahar's plan is to actually go through with this without being pressured necessarily, so that she can actually be publicly and openly in love with Nazreen. The whole story is about her trying to find ways to do this and meeting with a trans group who she's trying to fit in and pretend that she's trans even though she's really not, and they slowly start to catch on. And she's also trying to deal with her cousin Ali, who is kind of, she describes him as the gay messiah of Iran because he seems to be behind every secret hideaway and secret club and secret meeting place for gay people to go to and actually be free to express their affection. She's also dealing with her father, who's severely depressed because his wife and her mother died a few years ago, and he's never really found motivation to live his life past that. So it's all of these issues that she's trying to deal with at once. It's really heart-wrenching and really beautifully written, but I'm so happy that it at least has hopeful moments in it, and even find times to be funny, even if sometimes it's a really dark humor. There were a few things about this that I didn't like, though. One of them is, at the beginning, I wish it had been longer. I wish we had gotten a better look at Nazreen and Sahar's secret relationship. We get a small glimpse of that, but then so soon it goes into Nazreen getting engaged, and Sahar freaking out about this because she's losing the love of her life, and then she starts trying to figure out all these ways that she could possibly get her back and get the marriage cancelled and go through with the assignment surgery so quickly enough that it happens before the wedding. Once the plot kicks in, Sahar and Nazreen, they're not on the best of terms. They both get mad, both at themselves and the world and each other. They get into a lot of fights and a lot of arguments, even when they're trying to be intimate with each other. It just never seems to work. And Sahar starts to see all of the cracks in the relationship and all the flaws and everything about Nazreen that she's put off by, and she starts debating as well whether she's even worth or not. She keeps convincing herself, yes it is, yes it is. But there were times where I was even reading it and I was thinking, why are you bothering with Nazreen? She is no good for you. She doesn't respect you the way that you deserve to be respected. And so I wish that we had seen more of them being sweet with each other and being like genuinely heartwarmingly in love with each other, so that when things turn sour, it has a better emotional turn. There's obviously a lot of heartbreak in here, but I feel it would have resonated more if we had seen the highs of the relationship before we immediately went to the lows of it. Also, just on a technical level, I'm not a big fan of present tense narration, and this showed in this book several places. It felt really awkward and really forced and didn't really fit with the tone that was going on. On the other hand, there were times where it worked really well, and one of the most standouts was near the beginning where Sahar finds out that Nazreen has become engaged, and because of the present tense narration, all of that emotional turmoil of Sahar feeling angry and sad and confused and betrayed, they all hit her in waves, and that really hits the reader in the same way that it hits her, and so that really helps build the emotional highs of that scene, and there are a few other scenes as well. But I felt like for the most part, the present tense stuff, it just kind of makes everything falter. It didn't work, and there were a lot of places where it stood out and did start to draw me out of the story. But overall, it's an excellent book, and Sahar is a great character on her own, even if I find her relationship with Nazreen a bit iffy, and I hope that within the story, in the future, her character is able to find love for herself, because she definitely deserves someone who loves her and respects her. And I give this like a 4.5 out of 5, just because there's a few iffy bits, but overall it's an excellent story. And then just before I went to bed last night, I was able to read the first 100 or so pages of If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. It's about a trans girl named Amanda who starts going to a new high school because at her old school she was facing severe bullying and transphobia from her other classmates. So she moves to this different school in the same town that her father lives. Her parents are separated. She's hoping that she can kind of escape and get a fresh start here, and everyone is really nice and everyone seems to really like her, but nobody knows she's trans. And she starts dating a boy and he's really cute and he's really awkward. Everyone seems really nice, but the problem is that you know, just because of what kind of story this is, that at some point people are going to find out and really bad shit is going to hit the fan. And so you're just always on your edge of that seat waiting for the penny to drop, waiting for everything to go horribly wrong. And that works perfectly for this book because that's exactly the same way Amanda feels. And it gets better over time, even in the first few chapters, just because she starts to warm up to people, but especially at the beginning, and then there's this subtle line going through everything else throughout. She's always got this fear in her back of her mind that something's gonna happen, someone is gonna find out, and they're just gonna straight up kill me, which is not an unrealistic fear for her to have. But despite all the fear that's going on, the book is still enjoyable. It still has fun moments. There's also flashbacks to 3 years ago as Amanda first begun to transition and started coming out to people, started going to a support group, and started to just accept the fact that this is who she is. And so it really gives a perfect snapshot of what it's like to be trans and to transition. I'm not even halfway through this book, and I'm already feeling like it's something that should be on high school curriculums, because a lot of people should be reading this, a lot of young people, whether they're trans or cis, because it just helps them understand. It can help them understand who they are, or it helps them understand who their friends are and who their fellow humans are, and not do something stupid and something terrifying and evil to them, and instead learn how to respect them and just accept them for who they are. I hope that this book has a happy ending. I really hope. I'm confident that it does, because the author is trans, and I feel like when you have Own Voices books like this, no matter how heartbreaking they get, even if it has a bittersweet ending, the message will ultimately end on a positive note. So this is what I'm hoping for this book. And to close off this video, I just want to say thank you to everyone else who's participating in DiverseAthon and who's supporting DiverseAthon. I've seen so many good-looking, interesting-looking books pop up, and I found so many more cool booktubers to follow because of this readathon. And like, my books to get list is like triple the size now because of all the great suggestions. I said in my TBR list that all of this diversity is out there if you look for it, but I really am just blown away by all the variety of stories that are available to us that we do have access to. And I'm so happy that there are ways that we can support these stories and support these authors, and I know that doing so will continue to bring diversity to the forefront. And it's really exciting to me, and I can't wait to see all the other great stories, both in book form and just people's personal stories that come out of this readathon. So this is just me saying I'm really glad this readathon exists, and I'm really excited to see what else comes out of it. And until next time, I'll see you all later.